On behalf of the ALLT 2020 Summer Forum organizing team, I'd like to welcome you all. The Summer Forum of ALLT is organized in collaboration with Zayed University and Higher Colleges of Technology. My name is Leah Lane, and I will be moderating the sessions in virtual room 4 until 12 o'clock today. Presentation for each speaker will be for 15 to 20 minutes maximum, followed by a 5-minute discussion. You're welcome to write your questions in the chat box function during the presentation, and as the moderator, I will collect your questions and pose them to the presenter in the last 5 minutes. I'd also like to remind you that our distinguished keynote speakers will bring the forum to a close from 2 p.m. till 3:20 p.m. in virtual room 6. Please be sure to join these keynote sessions. Also, there will be a feedback link in the chat later on, and you are highly encouraged to give the feedback. Click on the link and give us the feedback, please. So I hope you obtain an insightful shift in your approach to teaching and learning while participating in our first ALLT online forum. I'd like now to welcome Mahmoud Nafa, who is joining us from City University College in Ajman. And today, Mahmoud is going to speak to us about planning effective e-learning. Mahmoud, I will turn it to you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Am I clear? Do you hear me?
I can hear you, Mahmoud.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank the ALLT team for giving me the opportunity to address dear audience on one of the most crucial topics, that is dealing with effective e-learning or how to plan an effective e-learning. But firstly, let's talk or discuss what is e-learning or what is meant by e-learning. In fact, defining e-learning is not a simple issue, and it erupts a lot of controversy and discussion due to two main things. First of all, definition really depends or comes out of interest and specializations. So each researcher defines e-learning from his own perspective. The second problem when we define e-learning is it covers a huge or vast range of applications, learning methodology or processes. So one of the most famous designers or researchers, Oplinger and Hawkins, as well as the Blend, say or postulate that there is no common definition for this term. However, there are certain definitions that can be categorized. For example, Fry says that e-learning is the use of technology and internet and technology in order to produce materials for learning, for teaching learners, and for regulating courses. Okay, the European Commission describes e-learning as the use of multimedia technologies and the internet to increase or to reinforce learning qualities by making free access or easy access to learning materials and learning services. From another perspective, e-learnings can refer to the use of information and communication technologies to facilitate the access on learning teaching resources. Maltz et al. Defined e-learning, that is the use of technology applied in different perspectives, such as distributed learning, online distance learning, as well as hybrid learning. In a nutshell, e-learning is the use of making use of technology, internet, and other things in order to facilitate teaching and learning by providing a free access or an easy access to these materials. Now, what are the modes of e-learning? In fact, e-learning proved its efficacy during this coronavirus spread or COVID-19. Because from my own experience, despite there are some problems, in fact, but it proved its efficacy. Now, let's see the modes. How is e-learning usually used? First of all, it can be utilized in 3 modes. Adjunct learning. It is used as a tool helping traditional learning. For example, once we are talking about jungles or about forest or something, e-learning can help us to log on the internet and present to students or learners some scenes that add more vividness and liveliness to the scene. So it's used just a mere tool. The second one, a blended e-learning. We can deliver materials via traditional teaching materials, and we can present them via e-learning. So this is called the blended or mixed. The third one, okay, that is called the online e-learning or total e-learning, where there is no traditional learning participation or classroom participation. Okay. However, I disagree with this no classroom participation, because from my own experience, although we have overdependence on e-learning and on online, but there was an active participation, and we will see now how can we make active participation. E-learning can be used in this style of individual learners or collaborative through two modes, synchronous and asynchronous. And both of them are excellent strategies, and both diversities are of extreme importance as it enables all types of learners to participate in this field. Let's see how now. Okay. Now, this is the definition of synchronous versus asynchronous. Definition: learning involves groups of students engaging in learning at the same time. Students are studying at the same time. They have certain activities, conducting instant messages, live chats, videos. Asynchronous is a student center where students get into the online and studies alone. And he interacts with management, course management, and communicating using emails, posting things. So the first one, synchronous, is productive and active for a group study, while asynchronous one is for personal or individual one. Now we have these steps. Synchronous students study at the same time. Okay. They have communicate real time. Possible, more engaging and effective. Allows instant feedback. And I experienced this one. So we had constructive class discussion, such as video conferencing, live chats, and live. We have asynchronous activities. Students learn at different times. Communication is not live. There is no communication, but it is more convenient and flexible for people working and for individual learning. And it also allows the students to study at their own pace. Okay, for example, a slow learner will be like this. Above the average learner will study more, etc. And it can be carried out through emails, screencasts, Flipgrid, videos, etc. Planning an effective lesson learning session. How can we plan one? What do we need? First of all, the most important or the cornerstone in terms of the goals, in terms of our technical abilities. And we have to plan. Planning is the core, because somebody says, if we fail to plan, we plan to fail. So we should plan our lessons. Accordingly, we design our lesson according to our plan. We should take into consideration our objectives, our learners, and the strategies. After that, when we plan, design, we have to develop, because if we stay stuck in the same corner, we will not be developed, or our classes will be boring or something. Now, delivery, we have to think of means of delivery. How will we deliver our classes? Shall we use cooperative learning? Shall we use lecturing? Shall we use interactive learning? Shall we use the problem-solving strategies? So we have to find this. After that, we come to the leader evaluation. When we finish our session, we have to evaluate our progress, our delivery, our planning, in order to be more active and proactive even. And this can be done by revising our things and making and consulting our students. We can ask them to do this. Okay, planning an effective learning session. Now, what is the core of a planning an effective learning session? First of all, we should analyze the content of our curriculum. How is that? We have two terms: task analysis. Task analysis implying analyzes the task that the learners should do in order to improve their skills. We should know what tasks should the student do in order to improve their task. The second one, the topic. We need to understand the topic and the content of the course, because it depends on but which one shall we use? It depends. If we want to make things for specific interpersonal skills, we should focus on tasks. If we want to improve our students' skill, for example, in a certain field, we have to use task analysis. But if we want to give general education or information or for a broader general objectives, we have to focus on topic analysis. So before we should make content analysis of tasks analysis for developing certain skills and content analysis for providing information or general information. Now, what are the basic do's for conducting online classes? Of course, we should collect students' addresses and emails in order to be able to create groups with them. Second, we should prepare ourselves fully. We should understand, we should know what are we going to teach for not making any discrepancies, because if students do not trust us while we are teaching, we will learn nothing. And we have to prepare equipment and services like internet, etc. But there is a say that says you should never ever trust technology. So if something happens, don't feel panic or irritated or something. Just calm down and try to do it. And you should prepare all your assignments, your materials, or the questions related to the topic in advance in order to administer them slowly. You may ask one student to help you if you like. So students can help you in order to carry out certain jobs. The third thing, during the online, we should give students breaks in order to give them time to think of the topic, to think of the questions, etc. We also need to give them short classes or a series of short sessions, because long sessions will be tedious for them, in order to, as they feel under stress of technology and etc. We have to ask open-ended questions in order to make the life more vivid, because if we still talk and talk and talk, students will get bored. And we have to ask students not just to ask questions, we need them to encourage them to comment on their answers. After that, we should post the assignment and the session and allow the details. Okay, and moreover, the things that we should not do at all. Okay, don't we be formal lecturing in the class, because lecturing leads to a type of boredom. We need to do something else. Don't postpone or cancel classes without a good reason. What are pros of learning? Flexibility and the place of time. Learners can have the time, choose the time and the place of their learning. They can study at home, and that's why my students like this one. They said they enjoy it because they can even study from their working place. Enhancing educational process, as students can get knowledge or qualification and get to a huge amount of knowledge through the internet. Enhancing relations, it makes friendship, especially with international students, as they can get to know each other more. Okay, cost efficacy, it is very cheap in comparison of traditional education, as students do not need to travel, do not need to buy books, universities do not need to make buildings. Individual differences. E-learning can enable students to study at his pace. Compensating staff shortage. For example, if we have a staff shortage, other teachers or the staff, current staff, can teach different periods, and which will compensate for this one. Self-pacing. Students can study at their ease. Okay. However, what are the cons of e-learning? Less effective than traditional learning, because there is less face-to-face communication. And I know, and I experienced this, because during our traditional learning, I used to interact with the students, have personal relationship. but now no, just virtual one. With regard to testing and assessment, to be frank with you, no one can control cheating or during this strategy. So we should be careful when we administer test and assessment tools. Instructors' education establishment roles, yes, this leads to the weakness of instructor and educational establishment roles because there is no in touch, no communication between them. Practicality. E-learning is not practical for all domains. For example, it cannot be applied in computer, in laboratory, things like scientific, like medicine, etc. However, it can be effective while dealing with social studies. Technical errors, and this is a dilemma. Sometimes you can teach, you have a technical error, or your student has a technical error, and it needs a lot of time to prepare it. So if you want to avoid these things, you need to have support team or technical supporting team. In a nutshell, there is a big question now asked through the academic circles. Should e-learning replace regular learning? Based on the survey, the majority of learners prefer regular activities because of efficacy. Having a class or discussing in a class is more effective than having it virtually. Health considerations. Yeah, some families or parents or students complain that due to virtual or e-learning, they become very fat, they become very lazy, there will be grave disorders in the sleeping habits. Okay, so it is not okay. Social factor. There will be no communication between people because they are still at home. For example, if you have 20 students, each one log on through his computer, so it is not effective. However, a few students socializing at a larger scale enjoy it and they think it is good. Why? Because of working. Some students who are working in distant areas prefer to work online or to study not via an e-learning because it saves their time and they can study while working. Secondly, family conditions. Some mothers, for example, told me that they prefer e-learning because they can take care of their children while they were studying. Flexibility. Some people, especially who are working in Dubai, for example, told me that they prefer e-learning because they can study in Dubai and there is no need to come to the college in Ajman for that reason. However, from my point of view, e-learning should be used sparingly as spices and salt, because in order to enrich or to make it more vivid, but it should not replace traditional learning. Thank you very much. And I would like to welcome all your questions or inquiries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud.